Today I am in district, so video will not be opened. There may be problem. Can you listen to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now my first proposal is one date should be fixed for first class test. Which should be the date? Hmm. Getting 1 week time will be sufficient. Hello. That means if it is on 10th.
Sir, second week of December would be better, sir. Like middle
So
of
second
December.
week, 10th is second week.
So mid of December, sir. Please.
Yes, sir. Mid of December. That
Mid
is
of-
what I'm trying to say, sir.
Mid of December, then 14th.
Yes, sir. Like give us 2 weeks, then we can do it. Like okay,
So
properly.
make it 14th December, is it? Okay, so 14th December, that is Monday. Monday, what is your class time? It is one from 1 to 2, is it? Okay, so 14th December will be your class test. And regarding syllabus of class test, regarding syllabus, it will be coupling, power screw, riveted joint, and threaded joint. Coupling, power screw, riveted joint, and threaded joint. Coupling, power screw, riveted joint, and threaded joint. Is it okay?
Sir, can you please remove the threaded joint? I think 3 would be fine for us. For that,
Then
time
the
period.
rest,
Keeping in mind.
chapters will be large for your second test.
Oh,
It will be too large. So coupling, then threaded joint, riveted joint, and power screw. Power screw on 14th December. Coupling, threaded joint, riveted joint, power screw. That is for syllabus of the first test. I have written on the chat. So this will be your syllabus. Now let us start. The screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
So today we will discuss cone clutch. Now there is a video regarding the function of the cone clutch. Can you listen? Is it audible video?
The video is not that much audible.
Huh?
Sir,
Video is audible.
Sir, no, not that much audible
sir.
video.
Video settings are not that much audible.
That's a spring
Is
over
it
there.
audible now?
That's the clutch controls over
Sir,
there.
very slight.
Towards the fan.
Slides,
Hi
sir.
guys, HowMuchWork.com. Hi guys, welcome to HowMuchWork.com. Today, with the help of this animation, let's learn how a
So
quant
first
type
of all, you try to listen, then I
We'll
will
identify all the
discuss.
components in the system. Then we'll explain its working with the help of this animation. First, that's the engine. Then we have the flywheel. Those are the two cones. The blue one is a female cone. The brown one is a male cone. And on the male cone, we have friction materials. And let's see, that's a spring over there. And that's the clutch controls over there. And that's the input shaft towards the transmission. And finally, we have the transmission or the gearbox. Now let's see. The drive is getting towards the flywheel from the engine. And as the female cone, which is in blue, is as a part of the flywheel, it also starts rotating. So you can see the female part of the cone is rotating. And the male part is now disengaged from the female part. So the drive is not going into the male part, or it is also not going into the transmission. So that's the portion which is highlighted where the male cone mates with the female cone. So, and that's the friction material over there. And as the male cone moves inside, they get mate inside and the drive goes towards the transmission. So now I am activating the clutch lever control so that the drive can be transmitted and the male cone gets in contact with the female cone. So now you can see the drive from the flywheel, which is reaching the female cone, is carried away by the male cone, and it gets into the input shaft and finally towards the transmission. So that's how the transmission gets the drive. Now I am moving the lever back so that the clutch can be disengaged. So now the female part is disengaged from the male part. You can see the male part is going away, and now the drive from the flywheel rests with the female clutch, and the drive is not going into the transmission. So that's how simply a quant type clutch actually works. And this is mainly used in racing cars also. So I believe you understand it's working. For more videos, please click.
Now let me explain.
Hi guys, welcome to Commission.
This is the engine. This is the engine. Acha,
How a quant type clutch exactly works. First, we'll identify all the components in the system. Then we'll explain its working with the help of this animation. First, that's the engine. Then we have the flywheel. Those are the two cones. The blue one is a female. Hi guys, welcome to
this is engine.
with the help of this animation.
This is flywheel.
How a quant type clutch exactly works.
This is the female part.
We'll explain.
This is the male part. This female part is attached to the driving side.
Those are the two cones.
This male part is attached to the driven side.
On the male
There is the spring, and this is the lever or clutch control arm, and there is this spline shaft so that it can be shifted. So when it is shift, when engine is moving, the flyover is moving, and it gives speed to the male part of the clutch, this blue part. Now when it is driven to that, then this friction lining, this is friction lining, this friction lining comes in contact with that. Then when friction lining comes in contact with that, then this shaft rotates, and when this shaft rotates, then this one rotates, and then it gives power to the transmission gearbox. This is the transmission gearbox. Then when we disengage it by moving this, then this will be shifted to that side. So you see this is being shifted to that side. When this is shifted to that side, then engine is rotating, flywheel is rotating, this clutch is rotating, but the driven side is not rotating. So this is the function of the cone clutch. Is it okay? Huh? Would you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
So this is,
Sir, can you means replay means the last part means the cone clutch means the lever part.
Hi guys, welcome to How
this
Machine.
is the lever.
Today, with the help of
This is the lever.
how a con
So
can
by
expect-
moving this,
First, we
this
identify
is
all the components.
engaged or disengaged. By moving this is the lever 1. By moving this is engaged or disengaged.
Those are the two
When it is
components.
engaged,
One is a female con,
then
the brown one is
the
on the
engine
con
speed
has
comes
a
over there. That is the
see that's a
transmission
there.
gearbox.
Control.
And when it is disengaged,
Input shaft.
in spite of movement of the engine, there is no speed to the transmission gearbox because it is
The drive
disengaged.
is getting towards the
This is the thing. Is it okay?
and as the female cone, which is in blue,
Is it okay?
Okay,
It
okay.
also starts. So you can see this.
sir.
Sir, I want to say something, sir.
বলো।
হ্যাঁ স্যার, বলছিলাম যে এটা কি পসিবল স্যার আমাদের অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট এর মাধ্যমে আপনি সিডিটা নিলেন? কারণ আমাদের এখানে অনেকজনের নেটওয়ার্কটা স্টেবল না, সেই কারণে অনেকে ধরুন এখন জয়েন করতে পারেনি। তেমনই ধরুন এখন এমন অনেকে রিমোট জায়গায় থাকে যেখান থেকে নেট অ্যাক্সেস পায় না, সেই কারণে
Assisted a bit better.
হ্যাঁ, সেই কারণে যদি আপনি একটা আমাদের যেমন লাস্ট ইয়ারে থ্রু আউট একটা অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট নিয়েছিলেন সবাই, সেই রকম যদি একটা অ্যাসাইনমেন্টের মাধ্যমে সিডিটা নিতেন আমাদের খুব ভালো হতো আর কি। মানে আমরা সবাই সেটাকে কোনো না কোনো সময়
অ্যাসাইনমেন্টের মাধ্যমে আমি বুঝলাম না। অ্যাসাইনমেন্টের মাধ্যমে
আপনি যদি আমাদের এই সিটিটা নিতেন ইন দ্য ফর্ম অফ অ্যাসাইনমেন্টস, আই মিন টু সে।
মানে ক্লাস টেস্টটা
মানে-
স্যার অ্যাসাইনমেন্টটা যেটা আমাদের স্যাররা করেছিলেন যে অ্যাসাইনমেন্টটা 24 আওয়ার সময় দিয়েছিলেন, যেহেতু মানে অনেকের রিমোট জায়গায় যারা থাকে তাদের নেটওয়ার্ক কানেক্টিভিটিটা তারা সারাদিনে ভালো পায় না, তো মানে একটা কনসিডারেবল অ্যামাউন্ট অফ টাইম দিয়েছিলেন যার মধ্যে তারা
ওটা বোর্ড অফ স্টাডিজ এর যা ডিসিশন সেটাই। বোর্ড অফ স্টাডিজ বা ইউনিভার্সিটি এবারেও একটা ডিসিশন আছে, আমি সেটা তোমাদের জানিয়ে দেবো। এই মুহূর্তে আমার মনে পড়ছে না। আমি বোর্ড অফ স্টাডিজ ডিসিশনটা তোমাদের ক্লাসের পরে নিয়ে আমি জানিয়ে দেবো, বুঝতে পেরেছো? ওটা নিয়ে
আচ্ছা,
দুর্ভাবনা করতে হবে না।
আচ্ছা,
ওখানে
আচ্ছা।
তোমরা সময় পাবে। ক্লাস টেস্ট উইল নট বি অনলাইন, দিস ইজ মাই পয়েন্ট। Class
Okay.
test will not be online. Clear? That means giving you 1 hour time and you are submitting within 1 hour. This is not the case. Is it?
Okay.
Huh?
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes,
Huh?
sir. Yes, sir. Pretty much.
Sir, so how? I mean, you will give us the question and we'll have to return, give you back the answers in.
Within a stipulated time, and that time is fixed by university. That I will tell you. Just I
Understood,
cannot
sir.
remember what is the time. Okay.
Okay, sir. Pretty much clear, sir.
Understood, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now this is cone clutch. Now cone clutches are friction clutches. Obviously, it is simple in construction, easy to engage and disengage. Now this is the driving part. This is your male part. This is your this is your female part. This is your male part. The female part is attached to the driving side. The male part is attached to the driven side. And there is the handle, contact lever. Now there is friction angle, friction material. And due to this wedge action, the engagement and disengagement is very easy and complete. Now one requirement for this is that means they should be perfectly coaxial, otherwise there will be problem. Obviously you can understand what is the necessity of this requirement. Okay, so cone clutch consists of two working surfaces, one is inner and another one is outer. Now outer cone key to the driven I have already told you. Okay, now these wedge action provides considerable friction force. Even with small engaging pressure, there is considerable friction force. This is the advantage of this type of clutch. Now alpha is the semi-cone angle. This alpha is the semi-cone angle, and recommended value of this semi-cone angle is 12.5 degree. And there is a deduction. I will show you the deduction how we reach this value 12.5 degree and why it is 12.5 degree. That will be discussed later. Okay, so description is clear. Is it clear description?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the analysis, torque and force equations. So this is the thing. This is the thing. This is pressure, etc. And this is the first term of cone. And we are considering an elemental first term of cone. Okay. Now for this elemental first term of cone, this is R. This is R plus dr in exaggerated form. This is dr. So this is dr, this is r, this is r plus dr. So, and this angle is alpha. So this will be dr by sine alpha. Now for forces, now this is the normal force P del A. This is P, small p. So P del A is the normal force. Now this is P del A cosine alpha, and this is P del A sine alpha. So this is the elemental first term of cone. Now area. Area is del A, that is twice pi r multiplied by dr by sine alpha. So this is area. Now normal force is P multiplied by area, that is P multiplied by del A, that is equal to, putting this using this expression, twice pi pr dr by sine alpha. So this is normal force. Okay. Now obviously this will be the friction force multiplying by mu. So this is friction force, that is twice pi mu pr dr by sine alpha. Now we have to use two models, uniform pressure and uniform wear. So this is the uniform pressure. Now, so friction torque MT will be R into friction force, that is twice pi mu. Friction force is equation for friction force you have just seen. So twice pi mu pr square dr by sine alpha. So this is friction torque. So axial force P, that is small p del A sine alpha, and the expression will be this. Ultimately, this is the expression for axial force P, twice pi pr dr. Now integrating expressions of torque and force. So this is the expression. For now, these two will be evaluated on the basis of two wear models. So one is uniform pressure model and another one is uniform wear model. Now these two will be these two integration will be solved. Now for uniform pressure. So look at this. For uniform pressure, this P should be taken out. This is the thing. So P is taken out. Since it is uniform pressure, P is constant. So the integration will be this. And the MT, so PR squared dr. So P is to be taken out. Then R squared dr. So this is MT. So from these two equations, we can write MT equal to mu p by 3 sin alpha multiplied by this. This is the expression. Now just omit sin alpha. Then it will be mu p by 3 multiplied by this. So this expression is the expression for the plate clutch. So when alpha is 90 degree, then it will take the form of plate clutch. So when alpha is 90 degree, mt is equal to mu p by 3 into d cube minus d cube divided by d square minus d square. That is the expression for plate clutch. Okay. Now for uniform wear. For uniform wear, there will be PR equal to constant. So this P will be varying obviously. So PR is constant. Then the values of P and R should be such that R is increasing, P is decreasing, etc. so that this is constant. And we will get same axial force equation like plate clutch. This is the axial force equation for plate clutch. Now torque equation. Torque equation will be equal to this is the expression in the earlier slide. This is the expression. This is the expression for torque. So integrating this, so PR is constant. From this, so you take out PR. PR means PA d by 2. PA d by 2, then integrate R dr in between small d by 2 and capital D by 2. And the expression for MT will be this. So final relation between torque and axial force will be MT equal to mu p by 4 sin alpha into d plus small d. So put alpha equal to 90 degree. The expression will be the same expression for plate clutch. Okay. So these are the expressions for only you have to introduce sin alpha when you are considering the cone clutch. So for both uniform pressure and wear, if alpha is 90 degree, the relations become similar to plate clutches. Is it okay? The wear equations is okay? Is it clear to you? Anyone respond? Are you here?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I am searching whether you are here or not.
Sir, can you
So-
please redisplay the derivation of the frictional torque? Yes. Okay, sir.
It's okay. You have to take out PR, and PR means PA d by 2. Okay.
Okay. Yes. PA d by 2 and
Okay, can I go to next slide?
yes.
So this is the expression for mu t, mt. Now this equation gives less the alpha, higher will be the torque transmitting capacity. But when alpha is less, there will be a problem for engagement and disengagement. That is more wedge action. However, the value of alpha is constant by friction angle also. If alpha is lower than phi, that is friction angle, there will be self engagement. resulting in obstruction of easy engagement and disengagement. Okay, so there is a constant for lowering the value of alpha, and say if mu is 0.2, so to satisfy alpha is greater than angle of static friction, so alpha should be greater than tan inverse mu, means alpha should be greater than tan inverse 0.2, that is 11.3 degree. Okay, so alpha should be greater than 11.3 degree. So considering different values of 0. Mu, different values of mu, we normally take alpha is equal to 12.5 degree. That means it should not be very low. It should not be lower than this, because if it is lower than this, there will be more wedge action, and more wedge action means there is a problem of engagement and disengagement also. Okay, and another constant is like phi. Is it okay? It's okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Clear.
Clear? So the I pointed out the value of 12.5 degree, why it is normally recommended as 12.5 degree. Now some more points. Now P, if MT is constant, that means for a particular value of MT, P varies as sin alpha for a given torque transmission. Okay. So decreasing alpha, smaller axial force permits a given torque transmission. That means decreasing alpha, that means sin alpha value is decreasing, so P will be decreasing, that means smaller axial force. Okay, but that smaller alpha means smaller semi-cone angle, so higher wedging, that I was telling, higher wedging effect, thereby higher disengagement force. Engagement is very easy, but higher disengagement force. This point is okay?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
Now this is the ratio of empty value for cone and plate. So empty cone by empty plate equal to 1 by sin alpha. That is 1 by sin 12.5 degree, so 4.62. So empty cone is so high, so much higher. For given dimensions, torque transmitting capacity of cone clutch is higher than that of single plate clutch. It's okay? So we have to consider the constant for lowering the value of alpha. One is the wedging effect, and another one is the value of static angle of friction. Okay, is it okay? Can I go to next slide? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Now face width of friction lining. So this is face width of friction lining, and the expression for face width is this. Okay, this is all about cone clutch. Now we will go to the centrifugal clutch. This is okay. This is very simple expression. That is the face width of cone clutch. Now centrifugal clutch. It is very interesting, and there is a video.
Hi guys, welcome back to howmachineworks.com. With the help of this animation, let's learn how a centrifugal clutch actually works. So on the screen you have a centrifugal clutch animation.
Can you listen? Can you?
That's the clutch housing.
Can you listen?
Transmission.
Yes, sir.
And we have
It is audible.
clutch shoes inside. Then we have the engine shaft that's drive from the engine reaching the centrifugal clutch. Then we have the springs connecting the clutch shoes with the shaft. Right, so let's see the location where the centrifugal clutch is located. So that's our engine. Okay, then there we have the flywheel. After the flywheel, we have the engine drive shaft. The drive from the engine is going to the clutch. That's the centrifugal clutch over there. Right, then that's the drive to transmission. From the clutch, the drive goes to transmission. And finally, our transmission is there. So let's have a closer look, a zoom look at the centrifugal clutch. So that's a centrifugal clutch, right? And inside we have the clutch shoes, the springs, and the shaft from the engine. So that's here. Okay, that's the location. So now let's see further. When the engine rotates, the RPM goes through the engine shaft. Again, let's see, that's the engine shaft. It rotates there inside the centrifugal clutch. That result in the centrifugal clutch shoes also to rotate because the shaft is connected to it. So as it rotates, what happens? There's a clutch housing connected to the transmission, that's in blue. But you can see the clutch shoes and the clutch housing are not connected because there is a gap. So as there is a gap, the drive from the engine, which is reaching the clutch shoes, is not going to the clutch housing. Thereby, it's not going to the transmission. So this is how it looks like. This is the clutch shoes rotating inside. And as the RPM increases, due to the centrifugal force, you can see as it's rotated, there's a centrifugal force. The clutch shoes actually get more closer to the clutch housing. And further, as the speed increases, it gets in contact with the clutch housing. And that's how the drive from the engine, which is reaching the clutch shoes, is getting transmitted to the clutch housing, and thereby it goes to the transmission. This is due to the centrifugal force. That's why it's called as a centrifugal clutch. So let's see in more detail. The engine is getting the drive. So the engine shaft here rotates like this, and that drive is getting to the shaft inside the centrifugal clutch. So as it rotates, it gets in contact. You can see the shoes, that's the centrifugal clutch shoes, and the centrifugal housing gets in contact. So that the drive gets to the housing, the clutch housing. So that's how the clutch housing is rotating. And see now, as it is in contact, the clutch housing is now rotating. And as the clutch housing rotates, you can see here the clutch housing rotates. The drive from the housing, as it is connected through this particular shaft, the transmission, the green shaft, that's a clutch shaft, rotates, and that makes the drive reach the transmission finally. So that's how a centrifugal clutch actually works. So I believe you understand it's working. For more videos, please click the subscribe button. Hi guys, welcome back to howmachineworks.com. With the help of design springs connecting the clutch, the drive from the engine is going to the clutch transmission. From the clutch, the drive goes to turn at the centrifugal clutch, right? And inside we have the.
Now you see. Now this is engine. This is flywheel. This is engine shaft. This is the clutch, centrifugal clutch. So the clutch, this green one is attached to the clutch shaft, and then this is the transmission gearbox. Now when engine rotates, this one rotates, the flywheel rotates, then engine shaft rotates. Now this is the engine shaft, this one is the engine shaft. Okay, so when engine shaft rotates, then what happens? There is spring. Okay, so spring is loaded. So spring is loaded means initially when it is stopped, then the load on the spring is such that they are disconnected. So there is a gap. There is a gap between, this is the shoe. This is the shoe, that means over it there is friction lining. So this is the shoe. Then what happens when the speed of the engine increase and increase to a certain level, then the force, then the centrifugal force overcomes the spring force, and as the speed rises, then the spring is extended, and spring is under tension, spring is extended, and this shoe comes in contact with the clutch, and then ultimately the full synchronization. So when full synchronization occurs, then the engine speed will be equal to the clutch speed. Then clutch rotates. When clutch rotates, the arrangement is such that this green shaft rotates, and then the transmission. So there is a initial delay, initial time delay. That means after the engine assumes a particular speed, then only by the centrifugal clutch the process of synchronization starts, and after certain speed the process of synchronization completes, and then the engine shaft and shaft of the clutch become equal. Is it clear? Is it clear? Anyone respond?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, means at what point the spring force becomes less than the centrifugal force?
That
There must be some sort of speed, I mean RPM at which it will happen. Under
Hmm.
that will not happen.
Exactly. The two shoes are positioned by the spring. Okay. So there is a spring tension. So speed increases. The engine speed increases. When the engine speed increases, then obviously the centrifugal force comes in picture. So when centrifugal force comes in picture, the spring will be getting extended. Okay. So spring will be getting extended, and ultimately they will come in contact. Okay. Now let us go to the mathematical equation, and it will be clear. This is the process of working. Okay. So the process is clear.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it clear? Okay. Then we will go to the equations. So centrifugal clutches are used when it is required the load is to be engaged after the driver attains a particular speed. Is it clear? So after attaining a particular speed, the process of engagement starts. It allows the motor or engine to warm up and accelerate to the operating speed without load. So before they are coming in contact, that means this is the shoe. Before this shoe comes in, this is the shoe. Before this shoe comes in contact with the with this one, then what will happen? So engine is rotating, but there is no load. So engine is rotating with no load condition. Is it clear? Then so it works on this principle. That means there is centrifugal force consists of spider. This is spider. Spider with 4 equally placed radial guide. This is the spider, and there is radial guide. Okay. So that this can go into there. Spring loaded sliding shoe in each guide. Spring loaded sliding shoe in each guide. This sliding shoe in each guide. spider shoes and springs inside a coaxial drum. This is the coaxial drum, and this is the coaxial drum. This coaxial drum is attached to the diver's side. With the increase of speed of driving shaft, centrifugal force increases to ensure contact. With the decrease of that speed, disengagement occurs. So after speed decreases to certain level, then there will be discontact and engine will run with no load condition. It's clear? Description is clear? The figure is clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clear.
তো লাগিয়েছি এটা, তাহলে ওটাতে ইউজ করছিস না কেন ওই ইয়েটা?
এই কথা বলো না। আচ্ছা, let us go to the mathematical equations. So this is the drum, this is the shoe, this is spring. Okay, so this is RD, drum radius, this is RG, this is the G of the shoe. So radius of drum RD, radius of center of gravity of shoe, mass of each shoe, centrifugal force, spring force, number of shoes, running speed, and engagement speed. That means when engagement just starts. Okay, so when engagement just starts, centrifugal force. When this omega 2 is the running speed, at this speed it should run. So these are the expressions for centrifugal force, and the PS should be is equal to the when it just starts engagement. Okay, so this is PS. Now when centrifugal force just exceeds the spring force, the shoe begins to move radially outward direction and engagement occurs. In the running condition, net force acting on the drum is this PCF2 minus PS, that is PCF2 minus PCF1 equal to mRg omega 2 square minus omega square omega 1 square 1000. So this is net force acting on the drum. Okay, this is PCF2, this is mu. So friction force will be this one. So this is the net acting force, so multiplied by mu will be the friction force. So this is the expression for friction torque, that is multiplying by RD. Okay, multiplying by RD, then this is equal to the friction torque, and there is Z number of shoes. So for Z number of shoes, the expression for friction torque will be mu m RG RD Z multiplied by this. Okay, so this is total friction force for Z number of shoes. Is it okay? It's okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now there is time delay. Where there uses? There is time delay. Obviously, I have already explained what is the time delay. So these are used for lawn mowers, golf carts, some recreational vehicles, and also for heavy duty mobile equipments like cranes, cement mills, ball mills, etc. These are very important because these are heavy duty equipment. So when heavy duty equipment, if the engagement starts at the start of the engine or motor, then there will be problem. So at the start of the motor, it should not, there should not be any engagement. So motor attains a particular speed, then it is eligible for taking the load. Okay, so for heavy duty load, this centrifugal clutch, use of centrifugal clutch is very helpful. This is my point. It's okay, this particular point? I think it is very clear and it is okay to you. Now, the friction lining, the dimensions for friction lining. You see, this is the shoe in exaggerated form. This is the length of the shoe. This is breadth of the shoe, width of the friction lining. So the area of friction lining is LV. Okay, force acting on the drum, that is PA multiplied by LV. Net force on drum, mRg omega 2 square minus omega square by 1000 for one shoe. So PA multiplied by LV equal to this. Okay, so we can find out the dimensions of friction lining from these equations. It's okay.
Yes, sir.
Now energy consideration. Energy consideration means there is since there is friction lining for the entire clutches, entire study of the clutches, whatever may be the shape of the clutch, whatever, whether it is plate clutch or cone clutch or centrifugal clutch, whatever it may be, since there is friction and friction is the main point of consideration here, so there is generation of heat. So this generation of heat means if heat is generated, so there must be some arrangement for the cooling, otherwise it acts on the friction quality. Okay, now say this is driving shaft omega 1, this is driven shaft omega 2, I1 and I2, then this is the clutch and they will be coming in contact. So equations of motion, we are going for these particular studies, we are going for the energy equations, that is heat dissipation. The equations of motion for driving shaft, this is the equation of motion. It is very clear. Now for the driven shaft, this is the equation of motion. It is very clear. Now considering alpha 1 equal to theta 1 double dot and alpha 2 theta 2 double dot, and integrating this equation with initial conditions of this at t equal to 0, theta 2 dot equal to omega 2 and theta 1 dot equal to omega 1, we get, after integrating this, we get this one. The equation is very simple. Whether it is integrating or not, you will understand this equation. Okay, and these omega 1 and omega 2 are the integration constant. Okay, so relative velocities between driver and driven shafts at time t. At time t, relative velocities between driver and driven shaft. So relative velocity will be this, theta 1 dot minus theta 2 dot. So theta 1 dot and theta 2 dot expressions are known to you. So this is the expression for omega, that is relative velocity between driver and driven shaft at time t. That means when complete engagement or complete synchronization is not done, there is relative velocity. Now time for synchronization of speed. How much time it will take for synchronization of speed? Now if at time t1 total synchronization of speed occurs, relative velocities between driver and dispensers will be 0. So if the time is t1, that is complete synchronization occurs, at that particular point the relative velocity will be 0. So putting the 0 in the expression of relative velocity, so this will be the expression, and from that we can find out t1. So t1 is omega 1 minus omega 2 L1 L2 divided by L1 plus L2 into M2. So time for complete clutching is directly proportional to the difference between the angular velocities of shafts and inversely proportional to the torque. Okay, directly proportional to the difference between the angular velocities of shafts, that is directly proportional to omega 1 minus omega 2 and inversely proportional to the torque. Okay, so heat will be generated during this clutching operation. The rate of energy dissipation, this is the energy equation. Now you will understand this equation, you will follow this U, that is the energy. So MT multiplied by, that is rate of energy dissipation, that means there will be a time factor. So MT multiplied by angle, that will be the work divided by T. So the rate of energy dissipation is this. So that is will be equal to MT multiplied by omega. So MT multiplied by omega equation is already there. So MT is equal to omega 1 minus omega 2 into minus MT into this. So this is the rate of energy dissipation. So total energy dissipated during complete cycle of synchronization is, so from 0 to T1. So total time is T1. So from 0 to T1, UDT. So we are doing the integration. And from this, we can write down that DC, that is the total energy dissipated, is MT multiplied by omega minus omega 2, 51 minus MT square, etc. So this is the total energy dissipation when there is complete at the time of complete synchronization. Is it clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So this expression is clear. So we will, so putting the value of T1.
So
T1 is already.
স্যার একটা কোশ্চেন ছিল যে রেট অফ ডিসিপেশন অফ এনার্জি সেটা এমটি ইনটু ওমেগা কেন হচ্ছে?
এই যে ডি থিটা ডিটিটা ওমেগা হয়ে গেল।
হ্যাঁ, মানে এমটি ইনটু ডি থিটা ডিটিটা কেন হচ্ছে?
এনার্জিটা কি? এমটির সঙ্গে অ্যাঙ্গেল গুণ করলেই তো ওয়ার্ক ডান পাওয়া যায়।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, টর্ক, হ্যাঁ
সেটা দিয়ে ভাগ করে দাও, তাহলে রেট অফ এনার্জি ডিসিপেশন।
আচ্ছা, ওয়ার্ক ডান ডিসিপেট হয়। আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ
ওয়ার্ক ডানকে টি দিয়ে ভাগ করে দেওয়া হয়েছে, টি দিয়ে ভাগ করলেই তো রেট অফ এনার্জি ডিসিপেশন হলো। ঠিক আছে?
আচ্ছা,
আর ডি থিটা ডিটি হচ্ছে ওমেগা। ঠিক আছে? So putting the value of T1, this is the energy. Now you see, this is independent of torque. The energy dissipation is independent of torque. Clear? Up to this is clear? It's okay. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll stop here because the heat dissipation part that we will discuss in the next class. There are 3 more slides. These 3 slides we will discuss in the next class. And
Okay,
the
sir.
class will be finished. Okay.